Hey, this is Mike from the One Stop Co-op Shop, and it's time again for Shelf Life, the monthly series where I talk about games I reviewed and covered in the past and see whether they stayed in my collection. For this episode, I'm looking at games I covered in May of this year, and don't forget to hang on until the end to find out who our contest winner is. But let's get to the games and find out which of them had Shelf Life. First, we have Imperial Assault, the sci-fi dungeon crawler using the old Descent system but in the Star Wars universe. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but did that help Imperial Assault stay on my shelves? I guess not. I was mostly a fan of both Descent 1st and 2nd edition, and I bought into Imperial Assault really big. I got basically every single box set they had, except for the small expansions. But sadly, that huge set of boxes basically just stayed on my shelves. I wasn't ever getting opportunities to play the one versus many mode, and the solo co-op mode with the app worked pretty well, but I didn't really love how the app was implemented. It felt kind of grafted onto the system. My son, even though he likes the Star Wars movies, didn't really want to play it with me, so it just sat around, and eventually I found someone who wanted to buy it, and it all went away, clearing a lot of space for me. I'm happy about that. Next is Quirky Circuits, a cute programming game from Plaid Hat. Did that cat ride his Roomba right into my soul? You bet he did. So yeah, feel free to stop the video and unsubscribe from the channel now because Mike got rid of Imperial Assault and kept this game that almost no one has heard of or played. But here's the thing, I've had a great time with Quirky Circuits, both with heavier gamers and with my family. My son really enjoys it, which matters a lot in my house. I love the challenge of the limited communication and the cooperative programming. I really enjoy the variety in the 4 robots and the different scenarios. I designed a whole solo variant for the game, so yeah, this one's sticking around for a while. Next is Conan, the scenario-based tactical combat game from Monolith that recently had a fan-made solo variant published. I've read every Conan story Robert E. Howard ever wrote. Do I similarly want to play every scenario in this game? No sir, I do not. I think the core mechanics in Conan are often brilliant, especially on the hero side. It's a ton of fun to manage your gems and try to path out the exact actions you need to take to win. But where the game falls, and for me falls pretty hard, is in the development and balance. The rules are really unclear in a lot of spots, especially with line of sight and things. The scenarios are not well balanced. It can be a total massacre on either side. Now, I was really hoping the solo variant, that again was fan-made, would fix this, and it kind of does, but they're still working within the same scenarios. And I also found the variant a little bit too random over repeated plays. So even though I want to love Conan, I think Monolith just dropped the ball too much on this one, and it has to go. Next is Dale of Merchants, a competitive deck builder that also has a fan-made solo variant. Did solo play save this one better than it saved Conan? Sadly, no. The solo variant was pretty well done. I liked that it allowed me to try out the different animal card combinations and play the game quickly whenever I wanted. But the thing that made me call this one is actually the competitive play and kind of the core mechanics. And this might be sort of a groupthink problem, but whenever I played this, I found that the cool player powers and the cards I could purchase from the market didn't really add much to my strategy. I found that I could just rush to finishing the game, reaching the victory point conditions, without getting into any of the interesting actions that much. So it left a lot of variety out of the game and out of the experience, and solo wasn't going to fix that, so it had to go. Next is Too Many Bones, the game of adventure and tactical combat from Chip Theory Games. Now here's the thing about this game, it shouldn't be called Too Many Bones, it should really be called Too Many Boxes, because I've got, I think, like 8 or 9 or 10 of them at this point. But yes, clearly I'm keeping this one. You can probably tell from all the videos I've done recently, the podcast I did with Liz where I said how much I loved it. This game has been blowing me away recently. It's so much fun whether I'm playing solo or cooperative, and I've been playing it a lot cooperatively. It's been quickly advancing up my game rankings, and I think it might be one of my top 5 games of all time right now, which kind of blows my mind because I didn't love it when I first played it back in the day. I do think it gets better with expansions, and it is pretty expensive, so I don't fully recommend it unless you're willing to buy into it and not just stop with just Undertow or the core game. But man, it's an amazing experience, and I just love it. Next is Fallout Wasteland Warfare, a skirmish game from Odysseus with competitive play and solo options. Did I keep it? Nope. This one will be quick. I don't really like skirmish games. When you add in rulers, I'm basically completely out. I let the fact that I love the Fallout franchise kind of blind me, and I agreed to cover this one, but I probably shouldn't have because I'm not the target audience. You might love this. I think solo works fine, but this is not a game for me. I didn't enjoy it. Next is Pavlov's House, the second game in the Valiant Defenders series from Dan Verson Games and designed by David Thompson. Is Stalingrad still holding on defiantly? I guess not. This game was the toughest choice for me this month. I was going back and forth on it as recently as 2 days ago because I think it's a great game. Now, I don't love the operational side as much as the tactical combat side, but I still think it's really fun, a great accessible war game for solo players. But here's what pushed it over the edge for me. First, I like Castle Itter, the first game in the series, a little bit more, but also I just received the prototype for Soldiers and Postmen's Uniforms, which is the third game in the series, and I'll be covering it for the Kickstarter in November. And I've already been playing that on Tabletop Simulator, and it is by far my favorite game in the series. It is so tense, so wild, so many swings of craziness in the combat. I think it's amazing, and between that and really loving Castle Itter, I decided that 2 games in a series was enough. Second to last is Wander, the Cult of Barnacle Bay, a cooperative dungeon crawler. Did Wander fare any better than Imperial Assault? It did not. Wander knows what it's trying to be as a design, a family-friendly dungeon crawler, and I think it does a pretty good job at that, and I do like a lot of the mechanics in it. I think the initiative system especially is pretty cool. But like I already said, I'm kind of off dungeon crawlers lately, and this one wasn't a great enough one to kind of beat that out, and also my son only kind of liked it, and that was the main reason I wanted to get it, so it had to go. Finally, we have SpaceCorp from GMT, a competitive game of outer space expansion that can also be played solo. I've only kept 2 games out of this very long list. Will SpaceCorp make it 3? Nope, this was a harsh month. I don't have any major complaints about SpaceCorp. I still think it's a really solid design. I like the way you go through the 3 phases of the game and how they change things up. I like the goals you can add on. The AI is lightning fast. The game plays quickly overall, but it just wasn't really getting to my table that much recently. I can't really say why. There's nothing wrong with it, so I decided to let it go. I have so many new games coming in, I didn't think it would change anytime soon. So there you go, another episode of Shelf Life Down, and please leave me some comments on what you thought of the 2 games I kept or the 7 I called. And don't forget to hang on if you want to see the winner of this month's contest. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop. Alright everybody, here we go, the big drawing for this month's Shelf Life, and we had more potential winners than ever for this one. 14 people had 8 out of 9 selections right. Now, we did have more entrants than ever, but still, I feel like maybe I'm becoming predictable. I didn't think I was, but must be. Now, 2 of our 14 said they didn't want to be entered in the contest, so Jan and Ben, great job to both of you. But the other 12 did, and 8 of the 12 are Patreon patrons, which means they get a double entry. So there are 20 possible winning numbers here. I'm going to roll a d20 die, and here we go. 4. So that means William Young, number 1, not William Young, number 2, but it's the same person. You are our Shelf Life winner for this month, so check out your email from me later today. Thanks to everyone who entered. We'll do this again with the entries in a couple weeks and the contest in about a month. Until then, have a great week, a great month, and go play some great games.